Good evening. Adequate notice of this meeting, as required by the Open Publics Meeting Act of 1975, has been provided. The annual notice published to the Home News and Tribune on December 18th, 2023, and has been placed in the main lobby of the municipal complex on December 18th, 2023. Township of Edison Zoning Board of Adjustment regular meeting of January 23, 2024 is now in session. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Mr. O'Bara? Mr. Bignell? Here. Ms. Shaw?
Here.
Mr. Ayat?
Here.
Mr. Chabra?
Here.
Mr. Cerrito?
Here.
Saha?
Here.
Vice Chair O'Gorman?
Here.
And Chairman Kumba?
Here.
Now I call a motion for chairperson.
Make a motion to nominate Michael Cumbo to be chairperson.
Second to the motion.
Okay, first and second. Mr. Cerrito?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Chabra?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Sadaha?
Yes to the motion.
Vice Chair O'Gorman?
Yes.
And Chairman Kumba?
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you, members. Thank you for your confidence and shown in me. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to a great year. First, I'd like to welcome and congratulate Mr. Chabra on being moved up from second alternate to a full board member. We appreciate your service, and I think you're going to do a great job serving to the board. With that being said, the chair will entertain a motion for the position of vice chairman.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Chabra.
I'd like to make a motion to nominate Mr. Daniel O'Gorman as vice chairman to the board.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Chabra, seconded by Mr. Sadada. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cerrito?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Chabra?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Sadaha?
Yes to the motion.
Vice Chair O'Gorman?
Yes on the motion.
And Chairman Kumba?
Yes on the motion. Congratulations, Vice Chairman.
Thank you.
Now the chair will entertain a motion for secretary to the Zoning Board of Adjustment.
I make a motion to nominate Rachel for the secretary job.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Sadada, second by Mr. Cerrito. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cerrito?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Chabra?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Sadaha?
Yes to the motion.
Vice Chair O'Gorman?
Yes on the motion.
And Chairman Kumba?
Yes on the motion. Rachel, thank you so much for your service to the board. You make us look good, you keep us organized, and we appreciate all you do for us.
Thank you.
Thank you. The chair will now entertain a motion for the position of attorney to the Zoning Board of Adjustment.
Okay. I make a motion to Bhavini Shah, the attorney to the zoning board of adjustments.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Sadada, seconded by Mr. O'Gorman. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cerrito?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Chabra?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Sadaha?
Yes to the motion.
Vice Chair O'Gorman?
Yes on the motion.
And Chairman Kumba?
Yes on the motion. Bhavini, thank you so much. You help keep us out of court when possible, and when necessary that we have to be in court, you defend us to the utmost, and we appreciate you. We appreciate your advice and counsel, and we look forward to a great year with you.
Thank you for your vote of confidence.
The chair will now entertain a motion for a professional planner to the board.
I make a motion for naming the Bignell planning consultant as professional planners to the board.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Sada, seconded by Vice Chairman O'Gorman. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cerrito?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Chabra?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Sadaha?
Yes to the motion.
Vice Chair O'Gorman?
Yes on the motion.
And Chairman Kumba?
Yes on the motion. Mr. Bignell, we appreciate all that you do for us. Your advice and counsel is amazing. You are the top of your field in this state, and we are very, very lucky to have you. And we appreciate your service to the board. We look forward to a great year ahead.
Well, I thank you, and I thank the board. Thank you for the kind words, and I wish everyone here very happy new year, and I'm looking forward to another year of providing service for the township.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The chair will now entertain a motion naming professional engineer to the board.
Okay, I make a motion for deliver Raritan Engineering as professional engineers to the board.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Sadata, second by Mr. Cerrito. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cerrito,
Yes on the motion?
Mr. Chabra,
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Sadaha,
Yes to the motion.
Vice Chair O'Gorman,
Yes on the motion.
and Chairman Kumba.
Yes on the motion. Mr. O'Barrow, thank you so much. It's great to have you here. We appreciate the work that you and Mr. Carley do on behalf of the board and on behalf of the township, and we look forward to another great year working with you.
The chairman and the board, thank you on behalf of Mr. Carley and the rest of the firm for the opportunity to serve the board another year. Appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you so much. All right, I think that is all for that. We have minutes for Madam Secretary, we have minutes for consideration.
Yes, December 19th, 2023, for approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Sadata, seconded by Vice Chairman O'Gorman. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cerrito,
Yes on the motion?
Mr. Chabra,
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Sadaha,
Yes to the motion.
Vice Chair O'Gorman,
Yes on the motion.
and Chairman Kumba.
Yes on the motion. We now have resolutions for consideration. Z21, 2023, Jada House LLC at 91 Livingston Avenue.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Sadata, seconded by Mr. Cerrito. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cerrito,
Yes on the motion?
Mr. Chabra,
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Sadaha,
Yes to the motion.
Vice Chair O'Gorman,
Yes on the motion.
and Chairman Kumba.
Yes on the motion. And Z33, 2023, Devin Madden at 66 Glenville Road.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Sadata, seconded by Mr. Cerrito. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cerrito,
Yes on the motion?
Mr. Sadaha,
Yes to the motion.
Vice Chair O'Gorman,
Yes on the motion.
and Chairman Kumba.
Yes on the motion. Thank you, Madam Secretary.
Lovely, thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is a regular meeting of the Township of Edison Zoning Board of Adjustment. This board is composed of Edison Township residents appointed by municipal council who volunteer their time in service to the board. The municipal land use law requires that members successfully complete a land use training course administered by the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs. This board also holds in-house training conducted by our board professionals. The zoning board abides by the provisions of the municipal land use law in addition to our board's bylaws. The zoning board is a quasi-judicial land use board, which differs from the township planning board. Under the municipal land use law, board members are required to be impartial and are not allowed to discuss any case prior to its consideration before the board at a hearing. All applicants will have the opportunity to present their case before the board, with the opportunity for board members and board professionals to question the applicant and their witnesses. At the conclusion of the applicant's presentation of their case, the case will be open to the public. Residents within 200 feet of the subject property will be heard, followed by residents from outside of 200 feet. All residents will be sworn in. They'll provide their name and address, and they'll be given 6 minutes to comment on the application being considered without the opportunity for a rebuttal. Residents may ask questions of the applicant's professionals, and board professionals. The board requests that these questions are asked prior to any comments being made on the application. Once commentary begins, the resident's timer will begin. The applicant will be allowed for the opportunity for cross-examination of their witnesses. Under the law, the chair is allowed to stop any comment that is repetitive or is an attempt to filibuster the board. Further, the chair is allowed to stop any commentary that is irrelevant to the case or prohibited from the board's consideration. Once the public portion is closed, all public comment is ended unless new testimony is presented by the applicant. Following the closure of the public portion, the applicant will have the right of summation on their application. Following summation, the case will go to the board for a decision. This procedure has been followed by the board and is similar to the procedures followed by boards of adjustment statewide. Municipal land use law requires the board to engage in a balancing act. It is not required to strictly apply township ordinances, zoning plan, or master plan. As a board of adjustment, variances are granted when appropriately necessary, following all legal considerations. As has been the case with prior boards, this board will see where we are if we are still in session around 10:30 p.m. I ask that all applicants, professionals, and residents show respect to each other and be civil throughout all proceedings. I ask that you withhold applause, booing, or interrupting of anyone while they are speaking. The chair will not tolerate any outbursts by applicants, professionals, or the public. Further, since most cases are being recorded by a reporter, I ask that speakers do not speak over one another. That being said, Madam Secretary, first case on the agenda.
Case Z2 2020 Lamar Advertising of Penn LLC, 81 and 101 US Highway 1. Applicant is seeking bulk and D-use variances to construct a billboard on the property. Standards have not been met in accordance with the master plan. The billboard is not a permitted use in the zone. Front yard setback permitted is 50 feet, proposed is 10 feet. Max height permitted is 30 feet and proposed is 60 feet. Affected property is located in the GBH zone designated as block number 300 and 302, lot number 101 and 701 on the Edison Township tax map. All noticing paperwork is in order.
Good evening, council.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. My name is Michael Butler from the law firm of Eckert Siemens on behalf of the applicant. I spoke with the board's attorney, and I know that there's only 5 members that are present this evening. So what we had talked about, and I talked about to Mr. Tripp also, was presenting our testimony to the board tonight and getting to the end of our testimony and having Mr. Tripp present his testimony, whatever testimony that is, having the public comment and basically closing out the case, and then adjourning the vote on the case until the board's second meeting in February. I think it was February 27th was that date. That would allow us to get you transcripts from the hearing and allow new board members to review that transcript before a vote actually occurs.
I have no objection to that. Ms. Shaw, you have no objection?
I have no issue with that.
Okay. Mr. Tripp, I'm going to ask you to put your appearance on the record, and then I'm going to ask you if you have any objection to it.
Yes, good evening. Stephen Tripp from the firm of Wilentz, Goldman & Spitzer. We represent W. Rodman and Diane Ryan, the owners of property 50 US Route 1, right across from the proposed billboard. We also represent the entity that does business as Open Road Honda, which operates Open Road. So this billboard is directly opposite Open Road on Route 1, and we're in opposition to it. I do have a planner this evening, and I would also like to be afforded the opportunity to cross-examine the applicant's witnesses.
Do you have any objection to the plan to run a show for the evening?
No, I have no objection. I've done the same thing myself when
All
I
right.
represent.
So as I said during my opening, we'll see where we are about 10:30 p.m. You were the first case on the agenda. We got through the reorganization part, so you'll have the balance of the evening. So I don't see a problem, but
Perfect.
please don't prove me wrong.
Let me tell you, that is not my intention.
I've been talking a lot, so it's your show, counsel.
Okay, thank you very much. Once again, my name is Michael Butler. I'm an attorney from the law firm of Eckert Siemens. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Lamar Advertising of Penn. Just before I begin, I just want to make sure I have the correct review memorandum. I have a Big Nail report from July 18th, 2023. There isn't another report, is there, Hank? Okay, and then I have a report from Delaware Engineering, August 7th, 2023. Is there an additional report?
No, that's the correct report.
Okay, and then I also have a police department report from August 8th of 2023. I think that those are the only reports that I've received. Okay. So tonight we're here asking for approval for a billboard that'll be located at 81 Route 1 in Edison, New Jersey. It's designated on the Edison tax maps as Block 302, lots 2-0-1, 7, and 8. We provided notice. I believe this board already took jurisdiction of this application at its last hearing and moved it to this hearing without further notice. The property in question is about 82,000 square feet, roughly 1.88 acres on the south side of Route 1. It's located in the township's GBH, that's the General Business Zoning District. I have 4 witnesses for you tonight. First will be Derek Blatt. He is a representative of Lamar. That's the applicant. I have Dan Doherty. He is the engineer. He's from Dynamic Engineering. He'll be providing engineering testimony. I have Justin Taylor, also of Dynamic, but not Dynamic Engineering. He's of Dynamic Traffic. He'll be providing traffic testimony. And I also have, right at the moment, Matt Flynn and possibly John McDonough. They'll be providing the planning testimony. Once again, we're here asking for approval for a billboard in accordance with that, a D1 use variance, a D6 height variance, and various bulk variances. But we'll go through all of that testimony as we go through our hearing tonight. I also am going to be playing a little bit of Vanna White. I have some exhibits, so I'll be walking around and handing those exhibits to the members of the board as we go through our testimony. So hopefully I don't offend anybody if I come close and throw some paper at you.
You can actually hand them to the secretary, and then she'll distribute to us.
Okay, perfect.
I would request that we be afforded a copy as well.
I made extra copies for you, Steve.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
No problem. So my first witness tonight is Derek Blatt. If he could come on up.
Mr. Blatt, if you just pull the microphone close to you. Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And please state your full name for the record.
Derek Blatt. Last name is B-L-A-T-T.
And it's Derek with one R. I always misspell your name.
It's okay.
And then after I hit send on the email, I go back. Good evening, Mr. Black. Can you just provide, just for the board, a little bit of history on Lamar and a little bit of your employment history with Lamar?
Yes. Lamar is one of the largest outdoor advertising operators in the United States. We have over 200 offices across the country, and we've been in business for a little over 120 years. We focus in the outdoor industry, targeting motorists on highways and during their travels from point A to point B. I've also been with the company for 21 years. I'm the operations manager of the New York City and New Jersey market. That basically means that my job entails everything that does not have to do with sales. So I do everything but sell them. So that's from the planning, the permitting, construction, the maintenance, and the day-to-day changing of the copies, as well as the monitoring of the illumination, lighting on them.
Okay, so you said you've been with Lamar for 21 years, and during that time, you've had experience both in the development and the operation and maintenance of billboards throughout New York and New Jersey.
Yes.
Okay, and you have experience in the development, obviously, the development operation of a type of billboard that's being proposed for this site.
Absolutely. Many of them.
Okay. So you've been in front of boards many times.
Yes.
You're doing a great job. Your voice is not wavering at all. So can you just talk real quickly about the proposed use? Did Lamar receive a permit for the billboard at this location?
Yes, we applied to the New Jersey Department of Transportation, and under their guidelines, were issued a permit. They found it to meet those guidelines, and they issued a permit, and it has maintained in good standing order since that application and issuance.
Okay, I'm going to mark into the record a copy of the permit. If you can just tell the board the permit number.
The permit number is 76505.
And once again, when was that permit issued?
The permit was issued on July the 3rd, 2018.
And it is still valid.
That's correct.
This will be marked as A1.
Is my chicken scratch on top okay?
That's fine.
Okay. All right, can you just tell the board a little bit about the type of billboard that's being proposed for this location?
So we're proposing a standard 14-foot tall by 48-foot wide static sign, much like many others that you see along the traveled roadways, both on this roadway and on other highways as well. It's static. It's not changing. It's not multi-message. It's not digital. It's a static message with illumination.
Perfect. So it's not digital, like you said, so it's just a regular static board. So if the board closed their eyes and kind of pictured a billboard, this is what they would see.
Yes,
And you said it was 14 by 48?
correct.
Okay. Are there any other billboard signs in the area surrounding this property?
Immediately surrounding, no. There are other signs along Route 1 that are similar in size to this, but not in this immediate area. I believe the closest sign is 2 miles away.
Okay. We're gonna show the board just a picture of the area in question. Can you just kind of describe, this is what's in this picture?
Yep. So this is, do you want
ahead.
to test it out first, or you want me to just go ahead?
You can go ahead.
So this is a view as you're traveling southbound on Route 1. You're north of the property in question, looking south and headed towards, you can see the diner, and then central to the photograph, you can see the red and black boom of the crane up in the air. And that was a part of the crane test that we did for height.
Okay, and so you said you did in that exhibit, which we marked as A2, you can see the crane from the crane test.
Correct.
Okay, can you explain to the board why you did a crane test?
We generally do a crane test when we need to determine what the viable height is that we need in order to be effective as a sign and reaching the motorists, but also being conscious of the surroundings and the existing buildings and vegetation in the area.
Okay, I'm gonna show you another picture. I'm gonna hand this out to the board. Just a question before we get into that picture. What's the height of the billboard?
So the proposed height of the billboard is 60 feet, as shown in this. This is a mock-up of it.
And why, just while I'm kind of marking a few of these exhibits, what's the reason behind a 60-foot height?
So there's extensive vegetation on the property, and we did not want to remove the vegetation from the property, the healthy vegetation there. We want to leave that to grow underneath and create a buffer for surrounding properties. But this also, because the roadway has a slope to it, it helps to lift the sign up out of the lower part, as you can see here in this photograph that Michael will distribute, A3, you can see that the road starts to slope downward towards the site. So the 60 foot is measured at the bottom there, so we need that up so people can see it from a distance.
Okay. So you do the crane test so you can see if the height of the billboard can be seen from the general driving public.
Right, we try to have a balance. We do not want to be too high, and I'm sure we've all driven up and down the I-95 corridor going down, to the south, and you can see some of those signs are, 150 feet tall, 140 feet tall. We don't want things like that in these areas. We want to be down low and not affecting the overall skyline. At the end of the day, we want to try to give space to create an advertisement that's good and pleasing to the eye, as well as effective.
So would it be safe to say that you want to kind of create a balance between being able to see the billboard and being able to make sure that it fits in with the surrounding area?
That's correct.
If you could just, I I was a little slow on my writing. I apologize. If you could maybe just talk through the mock-up there, and we just did. We're marking as A3 is the read of the markup from US Route 1 going south.
Yep. Now that you have it in front of you, you can see in there, you can still see the red boom of the crane coming up. And we have the top of the boom basket measured at the 60 feet. So that's where that yellow line across the top of the sign is, right there at the 60 feet. We did leave vegetation both behind the sign, as well as we did leave the one tree in front so that you can see where that 60 feet falls in regard to the existing signage that's there, or the existing vegetation that's there. Here you can see that downslope of the roadway there. And there is also, and I'm sure our engineer will get into it, there is it does drop off from the roadway down to where the property is by a few feet as well.
Okay, so part of the mock-up shows some trees, some vegetation in front of the billboard, and those will be trimmed?
Yes, we're proposing to trim those.
Okay, and they're not going to be taken out, they'll just be trimmed on top?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. McDowell?
if I can interrupt right now. You've been cutting trees down on this property without permits, so do you have any knowledge about that?
We did. No. Okay. We have no knowledge of trees being taken down. If it could be the property owner that's taking them down, but.
Well, I don't care who's taking them down. You're taking them down without permits, and that's the problem. We have pictures of it too, so.
Okay. If there's something that's being done that should not be done, you can reach out to me, Hank, and I'll deal with the property owner. We'll figure out how to take care of it.
Well, the issue becomes when you start cutting trees down, what's the replacement? I know you're proposing a lot of trees and everything on your plan, but it just makes it really uncomfortable for us to kind of have to figure out what's required, what's not required. You have to pay permit fees. There's a whole bunch of stuff that go into this, so that's something you really kind of need to address like immediately. All right?
Yeah, and then, like I said, that's not a problem. If you can, just let me know what pictures you have.
I think you need to get a hold of the applicant or the owner of the property and tell him to knock it off and find out what he did.
Of course.
It shouldn't be on us to chase you around. You should be obeying the rules of the township.
Oh, no, I'm not saying that it's on you in any way, shape, or
Well, he needs to
form.
contact the zoning office and we'll
Okay.
let him know what we have.
Okay,
All
no,
right.
not a problem. I will contact the property owner and have them reach out, or I'll reach out on their behalf, and we'll figure that out.
Thank you, Mr. McDowell.
Going back to your testimony, so there are some trees that are shown, some vegetation that's shown in the panel. Those trees will be trimmed?
Yes, that's what we were proposing to do.
Okay. And when you're trimming a tree, in your experience, does that kill the tree?
No. In my experience, if you use someone who's experienced in doing this, a crown reduction of the tree can actually make it healthier and grow fuller if it's done by a professional. And then you just need to maintain that so that it continues to grow full, and you'll have more new sprouts and growth out of it.
Okay, perfect. And you said before, I may be repeating, I may have missed it when I was walking around. On A3, the crane is shown in the picture, and that top of that crane, that is 60 feet?
Correct.
So that mirrors the top of the proposed billboard?
Correct.
Okay. I just handed out what we're marking as A4, and this is, I guess for the record, we can title this mock-up of the billboard from Route 1 North. Could you just describe what's in that picture?
Yep. You're south of the site, and you're heading northbound here, looking across the highway. This is the proposed height of the billboard. We used the same crane test where the crane was there. We removed the boom out of it, but you can see that it's approximately the same height. when you're looking at it the other way. And that's why we're proposing to trim some of those trees at the top.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. McNeil?
I'm looking at the pictures that I'm seeing for the first time. It seems that the sign is huge for the location. Is there any way of making it smaller and not as tall? I mean, if you're gonna trim the trees, why don't we just lower the sign and make it a little more to scale in the neighborhood? I mean, this is huge.
We absolutely could. I'm trying to stick within a parameter that we use with the Department of Transportation of 25% for crown reduction. We try not to exceed a 25% crown reduction at one time.
Would that be the actual size of the sign that you got in the picture? Is that pretty much how it's gonna look in scale?
It's as close as can be done because it's hard to tell the artist that's creating the rendering
Yeah.
exactly how far we are away and what the millimeter of the lens is that you're taking it with. So it's difficult to say exactly whether that left to right dimension is correct.
Okay, does it have to be I mean, if you look at the side going south, it doesn't appear to have any trees at all in front of it, where the crane is.
Right, you
So
have.
you could easily lower the sign there, and probably make it smaller. At the same thing, on the other side, I mean, some of those trees have been cut out of there now, so when was this picture taken?
This picture was taken in August.
Yeah, they've cut the trees down like through Christmas.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I was going to the movies and happened to be going by and, so,
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we absolutely would love to bring it down. We would, as long as there's room to bring it down closer to the roadway and we're not interfering with the existing vegetation and we're just trimming, yes.
yeah, it just seems overpowering the way your picture's depicted to me, that's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Chairman,
Mr. Ayala?
can you explain to me the 25% crown reduction? What exactly does that mean?
So what we work with the Department of Transportation on, usually along their right-of-way, is a maximum crown reduction of 25% of the overall height of the tree. So if the tree was 20 feet tall, you can take out 5 feet. Then you have to let it grow for 2 years before you can take out another 25% to allow the tree to fully recover from those cuts.
You have done some.
Mr. Ayala, can you just bring the microphone down?
You have done some substantial cutting to the trees out there. You might already be below the 25 or above the 25%. So I'd appreciate if someone can come into our office along with what Mr. Bignell is saying, if you can come in and see me. I'm the zoning officer in Edison, so. It was a substantial amount of trees and branches that were cut. So an actual picture or depiction of what's there now would have helped. But, all right, moving along, just, you know what you have to do.
This picture was taken in August of this year. We wanted to have it with the vegetation fully out. And I did not get a chance to go by the site. After, I think the last time I had been by the site was late October.
Okay.
So if he's saying it happened around Christmas time, I have not been there to see that at this point yet.
No problem.
And like I said before, we will reach out to you and to the property owner to figure out what happened out there.
Good.
Okay,
That works, thank you.
perfect. All right, so just going down the pictures, and I forgot to ask this before, that these pictures, they were taken by you or at your direction, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then they were provided to Lamar, to a different department in Lamar to mock it up and make the what's being seen as the billboard appear in the picture.
Yes, we do have a program, an art program within our corporate office that this is what they do all day, every day is mock-ups for different plants around the country.
Okay, perfect. Let's just talk real quick about some of the, since it's a static board, how does the message on the board change?
So the message is changed. It's a printed vinyl, like a tarp. It's stretched on there by 3 workers that come to the site. They'll climb the sign, and they'll remove the old one, and they'll put the new one on using ratchet straps and fiberglass rods within the pockets, and they pull that on. And that's changed about every 4 weeks, unless we have a long-term client who wants to stay up longer.
Okay, and you said how many people are in the crew that go out to change the sign?
It's generally 3 people.
Okay, and they what time of day do they come out? How long does it take?
They usually try to be there early in the morning, or they'll try to work around when they know that the business is not super busy. Knowing that there's a diner right there, they may wait until, if they can't be there before the morning breakfast rush, they may be there after the breakfast rush, but before lunch. And it usually takes about 45 minutes, maybe an hour at the most.
Okay, and when they come out to the sign to change the copy, do they need a bucket truck, or do they just come out with ladders and climb up the side?
To do that kind of work, they'll just come with a pickup truck or a van and a ladder, and they'll climb up the sign, and then they'll pull the vinyl up with a rope.
Okay, and is there enough parking spaces on site to allow the crew to come on and make the changes? You said about once a month?
Yes, absolutely. And I know we have a path that we're proposing to put into the sign from the paved area.
Okay.
Just like a wood chip path.
How about maintenance of the sign?
So we would obviously take care of the sign and the surrounding area around it. The landscape area there that's now kind of wild. We would be taking care of the maintenance of that as well. And of course, going through, if we're going to be maintaining any permitting process that needs to be done for vegetation trimming or removal, we are aware of. We've done other vegetation stuff in other parts of town, so we are aware of that.
All right, and the billboard, like I said before, this is just a regular billboard. There's no smoke or noise or bells or whistles that come out of it?
Nothing moving, nothing flashing, nothing, no stuff like that. It may, from time to time, end up with an extension on the top, which, just to enhance it a little bit, but it's just a static image.
Okay, and I guess the one thing that we haven't really talked about yet and shown is the lighting, because this is being a static billboard. It's not lit by an LED digital widgets, for lack of a better description. It's lit by lighting stanchions. So I'm going to pass out to the board what we're going to mark as Exhibit A5. It's analysis of the 3 luminaires lighting towards the billboard. Can you just talk the board through this exhibit and what it's meant to show? And this was prepared by Lamar, correct?
This is prepared by one of our colleagues at Lamar, yes. This is a lighting diagram that shows an image. The bottom image shows you, with the colored lines, shows you the foot candle dispersion across the board, and shows how the 3 light fixtures that we're proposing here would illuminate the face of the board. And you can see how they significantly drop off towards the top and the edges to keep that light focused on the billboard instead of all over the place and above and below.
All right, so what that shows is there's a lot of numbers and waves that don't make much sense to me. But basically, what that's showing is that the illumination that's coming up is directed directly at the billboard, and that light spillage doesn't go off the sides or over the top of the billboard.
It's reduced as much as possible. It's reduced as much as possible there, and you can see that it gets as high as 42 foot candles in the center, and if you look at the top corners, they're down to 9 and 10. So it drops off significantly towards the edges. It's just enough to keep it lit compared to the existing conditions on the roadway. There are some street lights there. There is lighting from other businesses in the corridor, so it needs to have a certain level to be competing with them, but and be visible to the motorist, but we try to keep it as low as possible to the edges to be compliant and not spill into the sky.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Vignone?
I'm just looking again at this for the first time this evening. What I'd like to see is a plan that shows the spillage on the site plan itself and what the foot candles are. Any kind of sky glow. You light this thing at 42 foot candles, it's like lighting Yankee Stadium. It's a huge sign from the other pictures that I just saw this evening. I'd really like to, zero in on more of that. Those are the kind of things that affect the public. The lighting, the height, things like that. And I'm glad it's a static sign, but I'd still like to examine the light perimeter and how it bleeds off onto the neighboring properties.
Okay, and just for the record, what we marked as A5, that was included as part of the site plan. We thought we would bring it so we could blow it up a little bit because it was a little small, I think, on the actual site plan.
You might say it's part of the plan. I can barely read this, so there's no way I read it off the site plan. So I'm sorry I'm getting old, but even with my bifocals here, I'm having a hard time. So this is really important stuff, is the light part. And even all the other commercial properties along the highway, we've always paid particular attention to the sky glow, how it affects the residential, how it's going to affect the neighbors, whether they're in apartments or not. I don't really particularly care, but they're residential units. So I really think we need to have a little more detail of this, or something that we can see better.
Yeah.
All right? I mean, if you're going to ask me for my opinion, I really can't give it to you with this. And I'm not sure I won't speak for Will, but I think we need some more detail before we can kind of advise you, before, we can kind of keep going with this thing until we understand what we're really up to. And if we're going to close out the hearing tonight, I don't think we're going to make it with the information that we're getting.
Correct.
Okay? I don't want to be difficult, but I'm just trying to
That's
more information.
That's understandable. And this was our first exhibit on illumination. So the next exhibit that we're showing the board is a picture of a billboard using the same illumination at night, so you can see what it looks like on the face of an existing billboard.
I'd like the opportunity to review it first, and before we keep moving forward with it, because if we're going to listen to all this tonight, and then we're going to go back and have to relook at it anyway, then what is the objector's going to look at? You know what I'm saying? We're going to talk and talk and talk, and then we're not getting anywhere. That's a problem that I see. So I don't know how you want to handle this, Mr. Chairman, but this is not, it's very difficult to understand. You understand what the point I'm trying to make, or I'm going with this? Okay.
I do. Mr. Butler, do you have anything to offer through either Mr. Blatt or your engineer, so as to answer some of Mr. Bigno's questions?
Well, as I said, we were going to continue on with putting in exhibits of pictures of billboards using the same technology at night, so that you can see firsthand what it looks like. What the board can actually see what it looks like when it's in practice.
Okay. Is there a comparable site plan that goes with those exhibits that you want to show us? Because it could just be a pretty lit picture. It doesn't help me get to the point where how it affects the neighborhood and what it's going to look like. I mean, I've been through this a couple of times with other activity like Top Golf and, and all that craziness and the lights behind the supercharged and all that other stuff, where I've been in these people's backyards at 1 o'clock in the morning, and it's really annoying. I could read the Sunday Times with some of the light in their backyards at 1 o'clock in the morning. I don't want that to be a problem here, so I'm trying to head this off at the pass. So how many more exhibits you want to pass out to us, Mr. Butler? Is there a bunch more? Or?
Well, for Mr. Blatt, we've got 3 more exhibits to go through.
See, I'd like them to relate to a site plan layout, if we could. Do you have that?
So what we have is the billboard analysis, the illumination analysis that was included with the site plan. Other than that, no. For tonight's hearing, we don't have. I'm not even sure what exactly you would want. You would want an analysis from ground level.
If you're showing me light on a billboard, I'm looking for the light that spills off that billboard onto the property, and I don't get that unless you show it to me on a site plan, where I can lock you in. So if you testify to something and they approve something, and it's not what we're getting in the field at 11 o'clock at night, then I have, with the zoning people, I had the ability and to go in and say, hey, wait a minute, this is not part of your approval, this is not what you testified to. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a little more practical detail. I mean, the pictures look nice, I mean, that's a good thing, but it gives them a rough idea of what the size and things are. My concern now is the two things, is the height and the light. So
Right.
if we can kind of work that out, that would be, I think it'd be an easier pull for you guys, but.
Right, right, and the, the exhibit that Mr. Blatt was just talking about does have the light illumination levels.
But I can't read it. That's
Okay.
my concern. I want to be able to look at it and see it and understand it.
Right.
I'm having a hard time just reading it here, so I can spend a couple hours on my design table looking at it to figure it out. I'd be more comfortable with that.
Okay.
All right?
I mean, honestly, from a layman's perspective, I feel like I'm looking at a complicated math problem here. So I need somebody to dumb it down a little bit.
Sure.
The other thing is I want to see where the sky glow is going to be, coming off of the billboard. So at night, so from the residential, from the neighboring properties, that's something that I'll speak for. I'm not sure if I speak for the rest of the board, but that's something that I would want to see.
Yeah, give me just 1 second.
Yes.
Tangential zoning, though. This is only tangential to the zoning issues. It's part of it, yeah, because the negative criteria. They should. Oh, absolutely. Well, and if you look at the lighting standards, he's not addressing what's on the code. This is 10, at the edges, it's 10.4. You need to have a lighting expert because there's a lot of aspects to this. For example, Steve, you can have a board that's fully lit. You can have it so that below the board you're not going to have any light effect at all. But when somebody looks at it, they still see it's still highly visible. Whereas if it was a building, it would be dark potentially. And see, you could screw around with the lumens and show that there's no spillover light. But that's not where the impact doesn't show. But the impact is inherent in the board itself, not the light. Two quarters. Yeah. Establish. The DOT only looks at DOT specific criteria, doesn't look at local zoning. Yeah. It's subject to getting local approvals, and it's not, it doesn't. Yeah. And then I want to bring out this idea that the last time he's been there was in October. So these something shows there. Trees are all bare, and you can see right through to the apartments. Yeah. So they don't really accurately show what's there. And then he says that they're up high above the trees. The trees are rough, but stanchion.
All right, I powwowed a little bit, thank you. So what we just talked about was, I want to just put one more exhibit into the record with Derek, because then he's pretty much done with his testimony. I can maybe bring it back for a couple cleanups or something at the February hearing. We'll go back, I'll talk to Hank, and we'll figure out how I can get him the information that he needs in order to make his determination. And then I'll bring everybody back at the next hearing in February 27th.
I don't know if that's going to be the date for a hearing. That would have been just for a vote.
Okay.
Rachel, what's our agenda look like for next month?
Our Februarys are pretty full.
Okay.
I would probably recommend March 19th or March 26th, depending on when you could get the revisions in.
Yeah, and I won't be here at the February meeting, so I'll be back in March.
Okay. You said was March 16th one of them that I heard?
March 19th and 26th.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Bignell?
I would just like to put one other thing on the record that's just come to my attention recently in the office. The state is having public hearings because they're realigning Route 1 right there. They're changing the access ways and stuff. So I don't know how that affects this sign, whatever you're going to do with your, the visual thing of it. You may want to kind of like look into that a little
Yeah,
bit too.
no problem.
So they ain't facing like the other way.
Yeah, no problem. And this will also give us time to talk to the landowner and figure out what's going on with the trees, because that was something new we just heard about tonight. So we'll get on that and figure out what's going on.
Thank you.
So if I could just put one more exhibit in, and then, like I said, Derek is probably going to be done. He may not come back on the 19th. I may bring him back just for a few questions, but I just so we get him at least one person out of the way. Okay. The next exhibit is I'm going to mark it in as A6. It's just for the record, it's a night a picture of a billboard at night. At home recreation is what's on the billboard. Derek, if you could just describe what's in the picture.
Yep. So this is a 14 by 48
Mr. Black, if
billboard.
you just bring the phone closer. Thank you so much. No problem.
This is a 14 by 48 billboard sign, just same as the one we're proposing. Has the same lighting as we're proposing as well, which is 3 of the 100-watt LED fixtures with a 7.5 degree tilt. You can see the 3 fixtures because there's 3 kind of like white dashes, and you can see the outlines of the 3 fixtures when you're looking at the billboard. It lights up the apron. It lights up the sign. You can see that the lighting drops off on the corners, but you cannot see it. You can see that it does not spill below it because you can't even see the support structure for the monopole that's below it. You can't see that. So you know that the light does not spill down below and illuminate that pole. You can also see the other side because this is a back-to-back similar to the one that we're proposing. When you look very closely at the bottom of the image, you can see 3 white like dots, blurred dots underneath. That's the actual spillage from the lights on the other side coming through. That's as much as you would see coming at it. And with nothing there for the light to reflect off of, once it spills beyond the borders of the sign, you don't see any illumination.
Perfect. And before we finish up, I know that there was a comment in the Delaware Raritan Engineering review memorandum about the light being extinguished at a certain time, and you're okay with that restriction?
Yes.
Okay. I don't have any further questions for tonight. Like I said, what I'd like to do is talk to Hank, figure out what information he's looking for, so we can get that to him. Figure out what's going out in the property with the trees.
So, Mr. Butler, what I'd like to do is I'd like to go to the board. I'd like to do this twofold. The first thing I'd like to do is I'd like to go to the board and see if the board has any questions for Mr. Blatt. The second layer of it is that if there is anything that the board feels that they would need for when you come back, we would like to put that on the record as well.
Perfect.
All right.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, I'd also like to ask a few questions before, particularly if the witness may not be back at another meeting.
Is he going to be back in another meeting?
You going to be here?
Because generally our procedure is this: when there's opposition, there's opposing counsel. Mr. Tripp, it's not your first rodeo, but generally what we'll do is we'll go when we open up to the public portion. You're first in terms of the public portion. So I don't really want to reinvent the wheel tonight. So
Public portion is different. That's for comments.
well, I know, but this is the procedures that we follow.
And
So I would be able to cross-examine each of the witnesses during the public portion?
That's correct.
Okay.
And Mr. Chairman, I just confirmed Mr. Blatt is available on the 19th.
Okay, that's perfect. All right, so we're all good. There's peace in the world. Okay. All right, so now I will go to the board. If the board has any questions for Mr. Blatt, I'm actually going to kick it off. So, Mr. Blatt, I'm reviewing the application for New Jersey Department of Transportation, application for outdoor advertising permit. Type of sign, ground-mounted, steel, Illumination, yes. And it's checked off, multi-message, type digital. But you've testified that it's a static billboard.
That's correct. We did apply for a multi-message permit here. And we did receive a multi-message permit from the state, but we are only proposing to build a static sign. So we will have and maintain a multi-message permit, but only build a static. That also does, at the current regulations with the state, that does block out anyone else from being able to get a multi-message within 3,000 feet in either direction on that same side of the highway.
So just to be clear, and just pardon me for being naive, but so if you receive a permit for a multi-message billboard and you put up a static billboard, that's not an issue?
It's not an issue.
Okay.
It's an issue the other way,
Okay.
but it is not in the eyes of the state.
I wish the state would be that more forgiving on other issues, but that's a different story. Okay, thank you so much. And then my other question is, this is upon the Delaware Raritan report about times to turn, if there were illumination times as to when the board would not be illuminated, and you would agree to that?
Yes.
Okay, and what would those times be?
So I believe
It was until 11 o'clock.
11 o'clock was the time that it said to cut off, which we're okay with cutting off at 11 p.m. We also use it would only come on at sunset. We use a device that uses the same signal as your cell phone. So it changes the sunset time every day, just like everything else. And when it also does not have an active client on there, the lights would also not be on for that. So if we don't have a paying client, they would be off.
Okay.
No need to keep them on.
Okay, all right. Thank you. And I'll go to the rest of the board. If the board has any questions for Mr. Blatt.
Mr. Trav, do you have a question?
Mr. Chhabra.
There is a large population behind the sign. South of it, it's a really large residential rental community, and it's at a much lower elevation. Is there any research or data done from that perspective? Any exhibits that you guys anticipate on providing?
Yes, we will later on in the presentation to the board present testimony and evidence regarding that property, that section of the property.
Okay, I look forward to it.
Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman?
Vice Chairman.
Yes, in the Delaware Raritan Engineering Report, in reference to any existing signs within 2,500 feet, is there any documentation there is any signs within 2,500 feet?
So there are no other billboards within 2,500 feet in either direction on Route 1, along Route 1.
Thank you. Another item. In reference to your exhibits, in reference to this tree issues of being cut down, we would need updated exhibits showing the current conditions, but the tree's not there. So the one, as an example, Exhibit A4 that was taken in July, based on a testimony today, there's been trees been removed. So this is not the actual current condition.
Yeah, so like I said, we're not very sure at the moment. This was the first we had heard about trees being taken down. So we will go and determine what has happened, and then we can revise plans accordingly. It may not result in a change to that Exhibit A4, because that's a mock-up of what the sign would look like. If for example, if there was a tree in front of that mock-up, if there's vegetation in front of that panel, it would be trimmed down anyway, so you wouldn't see that vegetation. But as I said, as I'm sitting here, I don't know the current condition because we just found out about trees being removed.
Yeah, one more item. Mr. Blatt, you testified that there'll be an access way to get, for maintenance, to get to the proposed billboard. I didn't see it on the drawings.
So there's a path through the trees there. There's a space to go through that we could just walk through. We're proposing to put wood chips down, so it's a natural surface to keep the vegetation from growing up, the small vegetation. So it provides a clear and safe access for the guys carrying the ladder and a place for them to set the ladder up
What about parking? Where are they going to park the
So
vehicle?
there's adequate parking there on the site already. At the former auto body shop and the diner, there's enough space for them to park the pickup trucks. We've all been on the site several times, and there's been plenty of parking there.
Thank you.
Yes.
So when the tech comes to install the billboard, they literally carry it up the ladder?
So they take a ladder, they hook to a ladder that's existing on the pole. It's called a fixed ladder, access ladder up the pole. They'll climb up with a rope, they'll throw the rope down to somebody else, and then they'll pull the vinyl up with a rope to the catwalk.
How heavy is the vinyl? Just
So 1448 vinyl nowadays is much lighter than it used to be. It's about 34, 35 pounds. So it's not excessive. I remember 20 years ago when I was putting these up, it was about 75, 76 pounds. So
I have a batting cage in my backyard that I wish was that light every time I have to put it up every year. Anyway, okay, thank you very much.
absolutely.
Does the board have any other questions or any other requests? Mr. McDowell?
Chairman, I appreciate them coming in to provide the additional information. I think it's very important that the lighting and all that stuff be squared away and that there'd be no questions if the board chooses to approve this D variance.
I completely agree. Mr. Barrow?
No, I would just concur with Mr. Bignell's comment that it'd be very helpful to have those lighting levels superimposed onto a site plan to see how it relates to the residential areas.
Absolutely. And I just find it interesting that Lamar has in-house services to provide these visualizations because some of your competitors have sat in your seat and it's like we were asking for their firstborn when we asked for a visualization of it. But that's an editorial comment I know Ms. Shaw will appreciate.
We do actually have a full facility that has more than 30 artists there that create artwork for the signs. They create the visual mock-ups. There's a team that just does the visual mock-ups. Proposed plans for clients who we can take our actual billboard and superimpose a proposed creative for a new client onto there so they can see what it would look like.
Excellent. Okay, and then does the board have anything else for Mr. Blatt? Okay, all right. Mr. Butler?
Nothing further.
Okay, all right. So that being said, Rachel, when are we rescheduling this for?
March 19th.
March 19th, okay. So for anyone here, for anyone listening at home, this case will be carried until March 19th, 2024, with no further notice required. If you have received a notice, this is your notice. And that's it. Thank you very much. We'll see you on March 19th.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Madam Secretary, is there any additional business to come before the board this evening?
That'll be all, Chairman.
All right. That being said,
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
motion made by Mr. Sadata, seconded by Mr. Cerrito. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Board stands adjourned until June 30th, 2024 at 7 p.m. Thank you very much.
Good.